say here Hungarian? Okay. So this is set...
DNA.
My DNA.
13%.
This is set in... the story is set in Budapest, Hungary. And if you go over there, they say Budapest. But I'll go with the American version just because I don't want to be pretentious. I don't speak a word of Hungarian. It's a love triangle. There's an American film student there about 1985-86. He falls madly for a Hungarian woman who already has a boyfriend whose name is Gabor, who's apparently the nicest guy in the world. And that's really all I need by way of introduction, and I'm going to start from the beginning, and we should actually get to the end. I could have told you of photographs I kept locked away in a drawer, black and whites of you, though we had never met, though I had never even seen you. So then, not you, but yes, you. Sleep as distant as the memory of childhood, I'm no better off than a dead leaf, a discarded snapshot curling at the corners, swept end over end down deserted streets, cities even continents apart, always the same near dawn. Scattered bird twitters, shadows turning their slow pirouette into brick and stone, the same cold blue of drowned lips appearing in the sky. And I wonder what, besides the brooding shape of Budapest, is silhouetted against reddish amber. What if I had shown you the photos, and you had seen yourself? Not you, but variations. A woman with your dark, unforgiving eyes. Another with the natural arrogance of your downturned mouth. Still a third with the inquisitive abrasiveness of your glare. Would you understand who you are, or why you were locked in a stranger's drawer? Haunted by photographic memories, something in me is like film, and having been exposed, is left with only the afterimage of you at the Viennese cafe where we first agreed to meet. The last time, leaving me with a demand. 3 glasses of water, you said, in the evening, before it is dark, in a row. What good will that do? It will get rid of them. You never finished, leaving me on the wrong side of a river, bridgeless, wondering how to cross. Get rid of what? Looking down at the round marble table, the wrought iron stem holding up its flat, petrified bloom, you smooth the polished surface with your hand. The dreams. It was no use asking about the dreams. You wouldn't say anything else. I knew. Promise, you said. 3 glasses. You looked at me then, your irises dark enough, liquid enough to dissolve your pupils. Tomorrow, I said. Good. Standing up, a flip of long black hair like a sweep of history. Horses and dark-skinned foreigners atop them, destined to change everything. And you were gone. Coffee still steaming. You let me catch up with you later, evening flowing into black. Looking into the Danube, atop the chain-link bridge with its stone arches and dormant lions, your lips pursed to spit olive pits. You watched the bats chase the pits before they silently disappeared into the water. The bats never fooled the whole way. It's not my fault you're no different than a sultry orange moon floating full and huge over the summer evenings. Over the Gothic spires of the castle quarter, a moon arisen out of the strange east of this city's origins. No, it's not your fault. I was left to burn softly through the night, waking to the faint reek of exhaust fumes and singed dreams sifting through the screen with the morning air. I saw you first, unable to keep from staring. You pulled closer to the man you were with, bending to the porcelain figurines in a shop window, oblivious to me. I smiled at you while you kept walking, your arm linked to his, staring back. I slept even less that night, walking the city's paved quiet, hardly noticing anti-communist slogans sprayed on alley walls, a film running through my mind, image by image, your face most of all. I abandoned my apartment in that rundown quarter of Pest, climbed to the roof, and projected my film on the vacuum of the sky for anyone to see, for anyone to take to bed as a blanket, though it would hold off a chill evening no better than a stretch of cellophane, though it was no more real than the faded ghost of a heart outlined in white paint, the names inside too faint to read, on a wall near Andrassy Street, the brick scarred by bullets fired 40 years ago. With no way to film the film I could not stop seeing, I settled for the haiku of photos, evenings mostly, the luxury of soon-to-be-gone twilight, the acquired taste of bitter foreknowledge. A whole roll with you standing on the Roman wall on Castle Hill, in the weak light falling from the rain-gray sky. You attract the black cat, though you prefer the free-swimming porpoise, imagining them to have quicksilver running through their veins, their high-pitched calls for you. You shook your head at me when I insisted on cat. You have no sense of porpoise. I knew then that yes, we looked at the same thing and saw differently. Our hands reaching for each other had proven ghostly, had passed through each other. And though the word porpoise was in your mouth, you charmed a stray to sit at your feet on that tiny cobblestone street washed with moonlight, charmed it to hold perfectly still for the camera. In your apartment in Obuda, the weathered stone block buildings so heavy the streets sagged around them, I saw your portrait of Gabor. When I see him again, we'll be like old friends, I said. But I wanted to know how to have my painting on the easel, where his sat, mute, still, helpless. You snorted. I tried to place the voice coming through the speakers, a scratched-up basement recording, the voice grinding the words as they came out, no syllable left unmarked. Blind Willie Johnson, you said. His stepmother threw lye in his face when he was 7 years old. It hurts me in a strange way to listen to him. Strange, because I still like listening. When you paint? I asked. Yes. Blind Willie singing as if nothing had been taken away, sometimes humming, sometimes wailing into dark and solitude, as if to break them from the inside out, leave them in ragged fragments. Heaven spread evenly out of reach from where Blind Willie stood, no up or down, direction obsolete. But that didn't send so much as a tremor through his faith. Blind Willie went on singing. You went on shading with your piece of charcoal, only stopping to reach for a chocolate cookie, your most trivial addiction. Long as they's a man, I said, roughening my voice, long as they's a woman, there'll be the blues. You stopped what you were doing and looked up at me, skepticism and surprise mixing in your expression, a new color. I smiled. The charcoal began tracing lines, inscribing the blankness of the paper with the face of someone who could find no other release. Wrapped in the oily incense of paint, cocooned away in your balconied apartment with the sawed-off voices of American singers, lost to the cry of the infant abandoned on a sloping tagetus of garbage, to the incessant muttering of thick-set, wasteless old Ildiko upstairs, who lost a husband in World War II and 2 sons to the October uprising. Her coffee, heated on the chipped white stove she lights with a match, is too thick, too bitter, to be anything but the boiled-down marrow of the dead. But it is all she has to warm her in winter. You know almost as well as she, looking out your 3rd-floor window, what falls in this rain. how scratches in the flaking plaster covering outside brick inscribe Ildiko's memories. And you've grown your crimson flowers to spite the bitter drops, each alone in its fall from a place too gray to be anything like heaven, each as alone as a sunless widow before the final strike against a cracked wall, the sidewalk, your flower bed. How many times have you looked up at monuments or stood before the men wearing helmets, carrying swords, mounted on great stallions, their stoic expressions streaked with green, and asked the corroding metal or smooth stone, was it worth it? Ask blind Willie Johnson. Ask Ildiko, who prays in the living room, whose knees have worn 2 bald spots into the throw rug in front of a weeping Madonna. Mary's painted face in a precious Byzantine shroud of gold and silver, like braille to the hands of the faithful. Framed and hung on the wall above a tiny TV with rabbit ear antenna that almost reached this image, this saintly image of mourning enfolded in cold metal, this face that stares back at her own. It is only one son Mary lost, not 2, not her husband too, crucified by the Nazis. And they put her in churches. She's a saint because of who her son was. But a mother is a mother, no matter who her son. The eyes don't lie about what they've seen. And even with that flat painting of Mary, in the eyes, you know. And the home stretch. I don't know what you were looking for, or where between here and the sunken islands of a mythical long ago there is a white city you've never seen, or what the man you will meet there looks like, his name, the smell he will leave on your clothes, or what he will whisper to keep you forever. Oh, you stupid, stupid American. You smiled and took my face roughly in your hands. You are that man. I always knew I would meet you. I always knew I would leave you. Not because of Gabor, you said. You had already exchanged goodbyes with him. Another prayer is answered. It was not a city you walked out of that night, but the underworld you lived in, crossing over the river that flows through it, leaving me on the other side without a single backward glance to make me vanish altogether. I have gone every place we've ever been together to see which has lost your shape, imagining I'll find you on the steps that lead into the river, in the mist that follows evening rains, in bars where we lost track of the flow of time and beer and the Milky Way, under the bridge where the old man watched, among the marble tables of the cafe where we first met, along the Roman wall where I exposed a whole roll of film to you, in the park where we sat through the turn of a season with you as ready as Daphne to trade in your skin for bark, your arms for branches, your hair for the feathery leaves of a mimosa, ready to die each winter and revive each spring in fairy tale colors. The earth, you reminded me, knows when to make a show of what she has. Just below the statue the Soviets named the Liberation Monument, the Nazis were driven out. The statue of a woman whose arms stretch above her head, whose back is gracefully arched, whose gown is a bronzed national flag suggesting wind, but which is better known as the Reoccupation Monument. The KGB settled in. From there you can overlook the city. It sits under a smoke-stained sky. Buildings streaked black with pollution tears. A rhythm starting and stopping to church bells, factory whistles, traffic signals. What I see at this hour are long lines of cars unable to move. Exhaust fumes joining a collective exhalation that lasts as long as the light takes to disappear. It was the cement drab weight of this place, the abrasive grays you abandoned. I am the somberness of the way you painted me. Without light, without color, only shades of dark. A goodbye I didn't recognize. The immaculate stone of your city, scorched white by sun and arranged in airy archways, showing sky, drew you from the cavernous doorways of Budapest, which even in summer are as dank and cold as if they led to the frostbitten roots of a tree anchored in a bitter netherworld. I understand the dolphin in you now, which is not a gray fish, but a silver mammal. I understand why you left me here in the sluggishness of all this land, only the Danube to remind me. At my feet, a mask whose plumes sprout a foot, the feline eyes lined with darkness. A mask exposing a mouth that could name an emotion you've never felt rushing through you. The same mouth which holds the runaway river every dead sea lies in wait for. There is no longer black or white, no longer the shimmery green of bird feathers, the desperate reds and yellows we covered our bodies with on the floor of your apartment. No crimson from your hanging garden, no photographs that are anything but blue. From the indigo iridescence of your witched hair to your horizonless eyes and the drowned blue of lips gone cold in memory. The street I'm on is a shade of midnight. I shelter under the arches of your body, running with oily still-like drippings. But you are as far from me as Neptune and its moons. The winter trees, the only color blind Willie ever saw, the bridge where I last saw you, all blue.